All right, re-entering the political fray is independent Senate candidate Dan Osborne, who I know many of you recall from his 2024 race against Deb Fischer in Nebraska, which kind of captured the attention of independent populists around the country. At the very end, my sense is that there was a bit of a momentum stall. I couldn't quite tell. You ended up losing that race by 6 percentage points, roughly, but overperforming any other candidate across the country. Your overperformance, in other words, relative to, say, Kamala Harris, was greater than any other candidate. Now you're back into 2026, running against Pete Ricketts, an even more kind of comical figure in a lot of ways, and we can get into that. But Dan, I know you just got off work. Thank you for joining us here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I'm actually taking a break from work. I'm nice. I gotta go back here.
Not even off. How much time do you? How long's your break?
Well, the owner of the company's he knows what's going on. He's behind me, so we're going to we can take our time.
And so, in order to keep you, it's hard to find good workers. Is he being flexible in order to keep you on as long as he can into the campaign? Is that kind of what's going on here?
Yeah. I fully plan on working until probably next spring, where I'll request a leave of absence so I can start campaigning when the weather turns nice again.
And remind people what a work day looks like for you.
Yeah, it's anywhere from 7 to 3, 4 or 5, however long it takes to get the job done that day. But it's a company called Grunwald Mechanical. They contract out of Local 464. UA Local 464 for steam fitters.
All right, so let's talk about this new campaign and who Pete Ricketts is. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he's from the Ricketts family, which is this kind of billionaire family. Don't they own the Cubs and Ameritrade and a bunch of other stuff? Who's the Ricketts family and who is Pete within that?
Well, we know they've spent $90 million. I can't speak to how long over the course of time, but in Nebraska politics, influencing our unicameral.
Right, you only have one house.
Correct. Yep,
right.
We've got one house, and so to push their agendas, they're definitely anti legalization of medical cannabis for folks who need that medication. We actually just had a referendum on our ballot, and it passed by over 70%. And Ricketts money is currently trying to block the voice of the people here. So that's who it is. And it's frustrating. He's bought his way into every seat that he's had. He got appointed. He, with his money, got our governor elected, and so the governor turned around and appointed him to the U.S. Senate when I believe it was Ben Sass went to Florida.
Mm-hmm. And he was two-term governor, I
Correct.
believe. So what are your criticisms of his time as governor?
It's a anti-worker agenda. The way they choose to spend their money in the state, I certainly take issues with. This is a right to work state, which everybody knows it's right to work for less. Mm-hmm. Anti-union agendas, things like that. So to me, it's frustrating, but I love the contrast of this race. It's the billionaire CEO versus the mechanic. And, I think the story writes itself. And I actually heard today on the news, well, somebody told me the news this morning that he is willing to debate, which I'm excited about. I've never been in a real debate stage. So I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out.
What's the opposition in order to be his opponent look like? Against Deb Fischer, you did so well as an independent that Democrats just basically gave up and didn't even put a candidate forward, saying that their goal was just to beat the Republican with whoever they could beat the Republican with, and in that case was going to be you. Are Democrats going to do that again? What's your sense?
I have no idea. That's not something I'm focused on. We're focused on running the strongest campaign that we can to be able to compete with anyone. we're starting off from a lot stronger place than we were in 2024, with thousands of volunteers across the state. We want to open 19 field offices across the state. We're fundraising well, and that just shows our viability. And we'll see what happens on who all jumps in. But right now, we're just focusing on building.
What would you tell? So, you're getting that opportunity to run the race again. So this is almost not a hypothetical. In other words, I was going to say, what would you tell yourself, if you were talking to yourself just starting out your run in the 2024 cycle? But that is you now, because you are just now starting out your run. So what are you doing differently mechanically than you were 2 years ago? Like, what were the missed opportunities, you think?
Well, if I were to go back and talk to my 2023 self, I'd say, don't do it. Run for the hills. No, I'm just kidding.
Not too late.
No, it's a wild ride. And, we're doing it this time. Well, my daughter asked me to do it, actually. She's afraid that she won't be able to be a homeowner. Economically, it's not the same as it was when I was her age. 22 years old, and that's frustrating to see kids that are afraid for their futures. And she knows who I am, and she knows I'm going to be for the people, and that's why I'm doing this again. So we're not gonna do a whole lot different. It's old school politics for me. I'm gonna go out to where people are at. I'm gonna where they live, where they work, where they play, and talk to them and learn from them. Doesn't matter whether they're left or right. I'll talk to anybody, because I can always find something that we can agree on, and we can focus on those things. But it's going back to kitchen table issues, and also I always challenge people to find solutions too that I could potentially take to Washington and fight for them.
Let's talk about some of those. Let's put the horse race aside. What are the things that you're telling voters you're going to do if you go to Washington? Like, why should people send you there?
Yeah, I'm going to champion antitrust and anti-monopoly laws. This is not the first time we faced this in this country. I mean, you could look to the robber barons in 1890, and you can just replace the names Vanderbilt, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan with Bezos, Zuckerberg, and Musk. The five families amass more wealth than 90% of Americans, and that's what's happening again. The money's funneling to the top, and for folks like me, it's a race to the bottom. And so I want to help create a level playing field for every American to work hard and be able to get ahead. It's really that simple. And we have to do that through, well, first of all, campaign finance reform. It shouldn't cost $100 million for a candidate to run in Texas, Montana, Florida, Ohio. That's disgusting. And what, president over $1 billion now? Like, this is out of control. And it's the corporations and special interests that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. And, I don't want to be beholden to anyone if I'm elected. I want to be beholden to the people of Nebraska, the people that elect me, the way this whole thing was set up to be, a government by and for the people. And right now, we're a government for the special interests, the corporations, and the 1% that can afford to bankroll campaigns. And that's something I want to change. So, and then the second is those anti-monopoly and antitrust laws that we talk about. I want to be a champion for that, for those issues, and really fight for change there.
What about Trump's immigration policy? First of all, what are you hearing from people about the various elements of his immigration policy so far? And what are you telling people that you would do differently?
I know we've had raids here in Nebraska, and I've talked to people personally affected by it. I've talked to business owners that are affected by it. I want to be clear too that without a border, we don't have a country, and the secure border is extremely important. The people that I talk to every day, I did 200 public events in 24, and the vast majority of people aren't anti-immigration. They just want it seen done correctly. We need to vet people coming in here for sure. I think news here in Nebraska, they just arrested an MS-13 gang member that has potentially killed 5 people. Those are the stories that drive me crazy. This shouldn't have happened. We should know who's in our country. It's that simple. So how do we remedy that, right? This has been an issue since I've been alive, and nobody has seemed to want to do anything about it on either side. There has been no meaningful, humane immigration reform on the level that we need to have it. And this is a Congress issue. This isn't an executive issue. The lawmakers should be doing this. So why hasn't it been done? Well, I don't know. It could be the fact that, in Nebraska, there's 4 meat packers that have formed a monopoly. Those are the ones that hire the immigrants, pay them next to nothing, and continue to enrich themselves. And the cycle repeats themselves. And those are the folks that can afford to buy a senator. And so here we are in this doom loop. And it needs to be done. We need more judges. We need more lawyers. We have to streamline the process. We're finding out very quickly that we need these workers in the country. But again, we want to do it right, and we want to do it safely. And that's what we need to be. That's what I'm going to be preaching.
What about Trump's tax cut and this giant, big, beautiful bill? Like, how are people responding to that, and what's your posture on it?
Well, I can tell you, Ricketts is loving it. He's going to get millions by the time this is all said and done, extra in his pockets, so they could start searching for maybe buy a second baseball team. Meanwhile, with the tax cuts, regular guy's not going to be able to afford to go to a baseball game anymore. The stuff, it's getting extremely expensive. And if you couldn't tell, I love baseball. It's American pastime. That's why I use it as an example. But
I saw you posting about that the other day, and it's
okay. Good.
I think that resonates across the board. Like it feels like taking your family to a baseball game now is like taking them on vacation. Like you have to budget like almost the same amount. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a fact. And again, so it's this. I hate to keep saying it, but it's a race to the bottom, right? And it's exponentially harder to live every day. When you got medical bills adding up like I do. My daughter had an emergency appendectomy. She's fine, but we're paying for that. I just had some surgery, a joint replacement surgery. I'm paying for that. And then my son's car needs tires. And, with tariffs, everything's getting more expensive. We're the ones paying for it. And, I work hard, and a lot of people do, and I've provided a good life for myself, and I want to continue to keep that safe for everybody and their children to prosper in this country.
Now, the biggest knock on you that Republicans had last time, they called you a Democrat in sheep's clothing, and toward the very end of the campaign, you even had Chuck Schumer telling people, go vote for Dan Osborne, which I would imagine was not a welcome message from him to your campaign. Did that hurt? Like, because in the final stretch, it did seem like Democrats were kind of vocal about saying, like, we think that this guy will be with us if he wins. And do you think that ended up hurting you down the stretch? Because Democrats did put a little money into the campaign towards the very end.
Sure. Yeah, it's I didn't ask for that. We're not going to ask for it again. I feel like a kid in the middle of a nasty divorce. You got Democrats just want to beat Republicans, and Republicans just want to beat Democrats. It's like this winner take all mentality that if you have a clear winner, then you have to have a clear loser. I don't like that, because at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we should be lifting everybody up, and we should be striving for that. Instead, we're falling behind, and our government should be working for all of us, and it shouldn't matter what side of the aisle on or who you voted for in the presidential election. We should all be winners here, and that's one of the big reasons why I'm doing this again.
Right. Well, Dan, thanks so much. We'll be following this closely, but appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys too.
All right. See you later.
Yeah, see ya.
Let you get back to work.
Okay.